With this video, I would like to introduce the notion of indifference curves. And I think that perhaps a useful starting point would be to put the indifference curve sort of in the broader picture. And what's the first step? What we're talking about here is the consumer choice problem. In this particular example, I'm going to be considering a world of two goods. Okay, so you see that there are two possible goods that I could consume. Oranges on the one hand, you see that here labeled on the vertical axis, and chocolates on the other hand, here you see the label on the horizontal axis. And me as the consumer, I have to figure out how many oranges and how many chocolates I would like to consume. I have to figure out what my optimal bundle of consumption is. Now, the first step in this consumer choice problem is going to be to identify the bundles that I can afford. Once I have identified those bundles that I can afford, then I can move on to think about which one of those affordable bundles, okay, is my favorite bundle, is the one that makes me the happiest. And what indifference curves are is a way of visualizing my preferences. Okay, so let's first take a look at the space within which we're going to be operating. So on the vertical axis, I have the quantity of oranges. On the horizontal axis, the quantity of chocolates. What's very important to be able to visualize is that every single point in this space represents a bundle of consumption. Let's take a look at three specific points so that I can make sure you understand what I'm talking about. You see this red point here? This red point corresponds to a bundle containing 3 chocolate bars and no oranges. This bundle up here, you see this point up here, represents a bundle containing 5 oranges and no chocolate bars. And then I have yet another point here. You see this third point here that I'm considering. Here I have a bundle containing 3 chocolate bars and 2 oranges. Okay, so remember the point is just so that you can visualize the fact that every single point in this space represents a bundle of consumption. And the idea here is that each bundle of consumption will make me more or less happy. Okay, and the word that we use for happiness in economics is utility. Okay, so each of these different bundles of consumption are going to generate a certain level of utility for me. And so what I'd like to do is I would just like to map out the utility levels generated by each of these different bundles of consumption. Okay, so let's take a look. That's what I've done right here. Okay, so you see this bundle right here? This bundle is a bundle containing 1 chocolate bar and 1 orange. And apparently, according to this graph, apparently this bundle makes me happy 1. Okay, now what is 1? Well, 1 is 1 util. What does 1 util mean? Well, all that it really means is that I like the bundles that make me happy 1 more than the bundles that make me happy 0. 1 is better than 0. That's the only thing I can say. And 1 is not quite as good as 2. Here you see that there's a bundle, okay, that makes me happy 2. It's a different bundle, and apparently it makes me happier. Okay, now I've gone through the process of carefully evaluating how happy, how much utility each different bundle present in this space, how much utility each of these bundles generates for me. And when I'm looking at those utilities, what do I notice? Well, I notice that there are different bundles that generate the exact same levels of utility. For example, take a look at these 2 bundles here. Okay, you see there are 2 very different bundles. This bundle right here contains 2 chocolate bars and 1 orange. And this bundle over here contains only 1 chocolate bar and 2 oranges. So different bundles, and yet they make me just as happy. They both generate a utility of 2. Well, if they both make me just as happy, it means that I will be indifferent between these 2 bundles. Whether I get this bundle or that bundle, okay, I don't care because I will be just as happy. So what am I going to do? Well, I am going to link these two bundles with an indifference curve. Okay, so here you see this indifference curve. Of course, I'm extrapolating just a bit. The idea here is that every single bundle represented on this indifference curve generates the same exact level of utility. Therefore, I would be indifferent between any of the bundles located upon one single indifference curve. Okay, I go back to looking at these utility levels generated by the different bundles of consumption. And what do I notice? Well, I noticed right here, look, two other bundles of consumption, each generating a utility of 3. Once again, they're very different bundles of consumption, but they both make me just as happy. So once again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to link them. Okay, I'm going to connect them via another indifference curve. Okay, so here now I have linked together, I have connected, identified those bundles of consumption that make me happy 3. All of the bundles of consumption located upon this indifference curve, okay, are preferable to all of the bundles of consumption located on the other indifference curve. Okay, then I go back to my picture. Now what do I see? Well, I see that, look at these 3. I have 3 bundles of consumption here. You see this one right here, that one there, and then one over here, each generating a utility of 4. So I also, connect the dots and then I extrapolate a bit. Okay, so that's all I wanted to explain to you is just introduce the idea of the indifference curve. The next step would be then to understand the shape of the indifference curve. Why is the indifference curve convex with respect to the origin? Okay, but here we have taken the first step. So I will stop here.